All right, let's talk Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 1. So, obviously, I'm a little bit behind because I think Episode 2 of Season 2 is probably already out. So, a lot of people have probably already seen this by the time it's coming out. But the 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time just kills me because, like, I don't want to stay up that late and I don't want to record right after. And then usually the next day I got to go to work. And then usually I don't end up watching it till the week after. It's like, just release it at 6. I guess it's different Pacific time, but like you can get it, drop it in California at 3. That's fine. Like, whatever. Either way, so Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 1 recently came out. Obviously, Daredevil is still reeling from the events of Season 1, in which Fisk appears to be taking over New York City with the Anti-Vigilante Task Force. I don't really believe that they set up Fisk well enough for him to have won as mayor still. I think just his being I think they just kind of brushed over that he was convicted of the crime that he did of, killing Ben Urich. And they didn't really cover that, like, either he was exonerated of it or something, or how he got out of jail. We're just kind of supposed to believe it. And I feel like if people still believe that he did that, I don't know. Maybe people would still elect him as mayor. I don't know how you twist that story and make it right. But again, being convicted, that means a jury found enough evidence to say, like, he did this in cold blood, because he was in jail for most of Season 2 of Daredevil. And then he went back to jail. Well, he was in jail for Season 2 of Daredevil, not for killing Ben Urich, but for money laundering, which you can understand. That crime can seem a little bit, iffy. But for murder, I mean, again, people will probably point and be like, the president is a convicted felon and people voted for him. But I'm like, I feel like murder is a little bit different, right? Like, and again, I mean, I don't know. Again, people feel like there's a target on him and like they were trying to do it. It's hard, right? So either way, Wilson Fisk is taking over the city. Daredevil is lurking in the shadows, trying to resist him, as seen by his new Daredevil suit, the black and the black with the Daredevil sign on his chest, which is pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool suit. Definitely, it comes from, I can't remember which one of the comics it comes from, but it's very cool that Marvel is adapting it. And I guess he's just with Karen Page right now. Which, I mean, they've had an on again, off again relationship the entire time. But the first season, he was with that therapist, and then I guess they broke up after she killed Muse, and now he's with Karen. And I guess we just accept that and don't really question it, So in Season 2, and I think it's interesting how they broke it up into 2 different seasons, because I think the plan was to do a 2-part Season 1, and so doing 2 different seasons is essentially the same thing. So, like I said, we're starting to see the anti-vigilante task force crackdown. Somehow we know it's going to play into Spider-Man Brand New Day. We just don't know exactly how yet, right? Because we haven't seen it. But we know it's going to play into Spider-Man Brand New Day, especially with Punisher being in it. There's actually a lot in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm surprised that the Hand ended up being in it, because I wasn't expecting that. And again, like, I feel like that all needs to be set up from Daredevil, because you won't know anything about the Hand unless you've seen Daredevil. So anyway, back to this episode. So there wasn't a whole lot to go on. It's just kind of picking up the pieces. Daredevil is still trying to reveal that Fisk is smuggling weapons throughout through using his, influence and everything to smuggle weapons throughout that port. And they're hunting down these specific guys. And I'm probably going to go watch Episode 2 right after I see this, but I want to record it first so I can get my thoughts out about Episode 1, right, and get them together before I go out and do Episode 2. So with all that being said, there's still a lot to see and a lot to confirm, because we don't really know who the main villain of this season will be. And we don't, like, the main villain of Season 1, I guess, was still Kingpin, but they didn't really have it in a traditional sense. Like, Muse, I feel like they were kind of bouncing off different ideas. Like, I think one idea had Muse as the main villain, and then they decided they wanted to go more with Kingpin, but they left Muse in the story. It definitely feels like conflicting or like conflicting narratives, like we had that one episode where Daredevil was in that bank robbery and he saved Kamala Khan's dad. It feels like they definitely had one direction and then they went in a different one and then just kind of kept them together. So we'll see if Season 2 is a little bit more cohesive, because because I think that would be interesting for us to find out and see. Is it going to be a little more cohesive than the first one? Because it kind of felt like Muse was just in there for no reason, and then we brought back Bullseye, which was cool. And they had Bullseye kill Foggy, which again I think is more of a avoiding the because in the comics, Bullseye kills Karen Page, and that's what like solidifies Daredevil's hate for him. And I guess you could argue, not even you could argue, but like they probably were trying to avoid fridging, where that's like sacrificing a female character just to like progress a male character's story, which is kind of a common trope that they call it in comics. And so they probably switched it to Foggy to try and avoid that. And I totally get that. Sometimes being comic accurate isn't always the same. The only reason why I maybe would have done something different depending on the storyline is because I think if you have Bullseye killing Karen, Punisher, if you watch the Punisher series, he's way closer to Karen than he is to Foggy. And if Bullseye kills Karen, Punisher is going to hunt down Bullseye and kill him. And I think that would have been an interesting thread to play out in season 1, watching Punisher hunt down Bullseye. Like, I would love to see a Punisher versus Bullseye fight. Are you kidding? And then Daredevil in the middle of it trying to, he's obviously would be mad at Bullseye, but also trying to stop Frank from killing him. Like, even if you had the same fight at the beginning, right, where they're fighting each other, and then he drops Bullseye off the roof, and then Bullseye survives and then goes to jail. Again, having Frank, because again, Frank would hunt Bullseye down and put a bullet between his eyes, like if it was Karen, right? And so watching Frank go and like break into the jail cell and do all that stuff, and Daredevil having I think that could have been a very cool thread to keep in between the whole series line. Maybe even have Frank be the reason why Bullseye gets out of jail. I don't know, something cool like that. But either way, that's not how that ended up playing out. And so now here we are in season 2. And I do like how the therapist keeps seeing Muse, because I think my theory is like, I don't know if she's going to be like a main villain, but obviously she's going to go to a dark place. Because even on that form where she marked like I can't, it was like I can't trust my own thoughts or something about evil. I can't remember exactly what it was, but where she had to erase her answer and put false. I think that's significant. And the fact that she keeps seeing Muse, I think that's also significant. And I think we're setting up for a potential villain, honestly, in her. And I don't know what she would become, which villain they would adapt to kind of change to become her. I think there's a lot of things that they could do, but it's a nice way of making the Muse storyline not feel forgotten or I don't know if rushed is the right word, but just like ineffective to the storyline, because Muse's storyline directly would create this villain, which Daredevil may have to go against towards the end, on top of all the stuff he's doing trying to stop Fisk. Last thing that it seems like they're trying to do, we got kind of I don't know if we're gonna do like a redemptive arc for Bullseye, because there's only so many ways you can redeem what he's done, and I don't know. But at the end of the series, at the end of the episode, a popular question was, who saved Daredevil, right? Like they left it ambiguous on purpose. But like kind of ambiguous, but like it wasn't that ambiguous. Like as soon as you saw the knife with the logo, I thought it could have been Punisher for a second, but it was pretty clear that it was Bullseye. It's pretty clear that it was Bullseye. Especially because he threw the knife in there that had his signature target on it. Bullseye was the one who killed all those ATF officers and saved Daredevil. Now the question is why, right? Because again, at the end of the episode, Daredevil hears his friend's heart start to stop when he's trying to save his investigator from all those anti-vigilante task force people. And I did kind of like showing how like, his superpower in that he can hear things kind of before he can like anticipate movements and things like that. So it makes it hard to beat him, and then he can take down squads of 10, 15 guys. It was kind of interesting to see how that could also end up hurting him, right? Because he was trying to, he could hear his friend being in agony and hearing his heart stop. And it reminded him of Foggy, and that like froze him for a second. And that allowed them to get the upper hand. And then it does kind of make sense that they were able to, because they kept up a relentless assault, and they pulled off the mask, and it looked like they were about to, I guess, kill him. I don't know if Fisk said to bring him in, but with the way they had their arms around his neck, like they look like they were about to kill him. And they demask him, and they all realize that it's. I guess they all knew Matt Murdock because I guess he's a lawyer. Because again, I was talking to my brother the other day, and he brought out a pretty good point that like even if you see a character, someone with their mask off, like if Sandman saw that, Spider-Man took his mask off and knew that was like saw his face, he wouldn't even necessarily know like who that is. How does he know that that's Peter Parker? But anyway, either way, so in this moment where it looks like Daredevil was about to get, got, um, Bullseye ends up saving him. And of course, the question is why, right? Because Bullseye hates Daredevil and sees him as an adversary in every way, but he's also fascinated by him. Fascinated by the adoration and the way that a lot of people like him and a lot of people don't. And like he's a very, Bullseye. They gave him very narcissistic kind of. I don't want to just like say like whiny baby personality, but kind of a very jealous also mentality, right? And so he blames Daredevil for a lot of things, and that's why that three-way fight between Bullseye, Daredevil, and Kingpin was so cool at the end of Daredevil season 3. So now, what we're questioning and trying to figure out is who is Daredevil, or is why did Bullseye save Daredevil, right? Because on paper, it doesn't really make sense because he hates the guy. So why save his life, right? And there's a lot of theories out there online. Some people think that it's like a power play from Bullseye to make Daredevil owe him one. Some people could think it's as simple as Bullseye wants to be the one to end Daredevil, not anyone else. But again, if that's what Bullseye wanted, he could have just shot Matt too, right? And he specifically threw that knife to say you're welcome. So it could more be of a psychological play where Bullseye doesn't really want, same way the way Joker doesn't really want Batman to die. And remember, like a lot of these villains have, a lot of these heroes have that one villain who is their psychological like match villain, right? So like Spider-Man, it's like Green Goblin, like that's his psychological, and for Batman, it's Joker. Again, psychological match. For me, I think for Daredevil, I think it's even more so Bullseye than it is Kingpin, because Kingpin's been a villain of a lot of different characters, but I think Bullseye is Daredevil's enemy, right? And I think that makes a huge. I think they have more of a psychological push and pull than even Daredevil and Kingpin do. Um, so yeah, we will have to see what happens. So let me know your thoughts on why do you think Bullseye saved Daredevil. It's probably going to be answered in episode 2, which I'm probably going to watch right about now. So glad I got to record this and get this out before I saw it, and then we'll see the answer, and then we'll have something to talk about again next week of if the reason that Bullseye saved Daredevil was made sense or not. So let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for joining me on the Blurred Wire.